Am I the a-hole if I uninvite my sister-in-law who's in love with my husband? Am I the a-hole to uninvite my sister-in-law who's 30-year-old female, called Tina, from my baby shower because I think she's in love with my husband? I'm 32 female, my husband 33 male, and I met each other at a ski lodge 9 years ago. I was with my young daughter and a female friend and her child. My husband was with his 2 brothers and 3 sisters and a few friends. There was a singing competition and both of us were set up by our friends to enter it. Oh my god. They met like in High School Musical. Sparks flew during our duet and the rest is history. Back to our first meeting. This was the first time I caught on to my sister-in-law's disturbing behavior. After the singing competition, he and I went to the cafe to chat. His middle sister, Tina, who was adopted at birth, came storming up to us and demanded he come back to their group. She never looked at me and whined when he shut her down. She ran off crying and apparently took her sister's room keycards and locked them out so they had to stay with their friends in their room. Fast forward to when we bought a house together. We had a housewarming and invited family and close friends. Tina showed up in a sexy club outfit. She ignored me the entire time and hung all over my husband, boyfriend at the time. She kept recalling tales of them when they were little and how close they were. She'd kiss him on the cheek, hug him, and touch his arm when laughing. He was visibly uncomfortable, so I stepped in. At first, I just thought she had a crush on him, but the way she was acting looked like she was the girlfriend and not me. She was going around reminding and telling everyone that he used to say he never wanted to have kids, but now he's playing daddy to my daughter. One of my friends said she thought Tina was weird for talking about how hot his modeling photos were when he did print work back in college, and that her favorite photo was of them at a beach in Hawaii during a family vacation a few years back. The most bizarre thing she told a few people was that he never dated a woman of color before, and now all of a sudden he's in love. It's only bizarre to me because she's biracial, so I don't know why this would bother her unless she's jealous of me because she wished she were me. Then things go south at the end of the night when he gets down on one knee and proposes to me. She started crying and ran to the restroom. Their dad went to check on her and then drove her home. I knew exactly why she was upset, but my husband always equated her behavior to jealousy because she never had healthy relationships. Oh gee, I wonder why. After that tantrum, she skipped our wedding, baby shower, our children's birthday parties, and other family events that we attended. I was fine with extending invitations because I knew she wasn't going to show up. She had some sort of mental breakdown and was in and out of treatment for years. Now I have to say, I wish nothing but the best for her, and I don't know what kind of issues she's going through, but I don't want her disrupting our peace. I'm currently pregnant, and our baby shower is at the end of this month. I'm having it a few months early because I'm at risk for going into labor early, like I did with my other 2 children. My mother-in-law called to RSVP and stated Tina would be riding with them and if it was okay if she brought her new boyfriend. I was surprised because we hadn't seen her in years, but I was apprehensive to agree. Eventually, I did agree and hoped that she resolved whatever caused her so much distress when she was around my family. Well, it took all of 24 hours for her to start her nonsense. She texted my husband paragraphs at 3 a.m. telling him how she felt about our family. First, she went on to say how much she missed them being close and how I came in and destroyed their close relationship when I barely said 50 words to her in 9 years. She asked him if he was happy with his life because, again, he used to say he never wanted kids or to get married. She then asked if he thought about her in all this time and if he could meet up with him before the shower and talk alone, face to face. That was the last straw for me. I asked my husband if he knew she was in love with him and he just shrugged and said he didn't doubt my theory. Apparently, when she was 11, she asked if they could cuddle and kiss, and he said no. He admits her behavior since then has always been weird and dramatic, but he didn't pay her much attention because there were many siblings and they all hung out all the time. I asked him if he could uninvite her and this new boyfriend because I think she's going to bring drama to our baby shower. He said he wants to talk to his parents first to see what kind of state she's been in, but I know in my gut that she's ready to ruin our day with her theatrics. So am I the a-hole for wanting to uninvite her to the baby shower? And edit, for those of you wondering if anything intimate ever happened between them, the answer is no. I am 100% certain of this. He has a total of 3 adopted siblings, 2 female, 1 male. He says he sees them as blood-related siblings because the 3 of them were adopted at birth. He's the second youngest, and they're all within 1 to 4 years of each other, so all he knows them is as siblings. He said he chooses to ignore her because she's always been dramatic. He's always worried about her physical safety because she suffered from depression for as long as he can remember, so he tries to handle things gently. He's not opposed to uninviting her, her, but he does want to know what his parents think about her mental state and whether she can behave. Second edit, just like I was bringing up. So I keep seeing something about High School Musical. I'm a little too old to have watched that show or movie, but I didn't know about the plot. I changed some details of how we met so this post wouldn't be immediately recognizable, but it's very much, unfortunately, my life right now. Some extra news though, my husband is on his way home right now despite having another 3 hours left at work because his phone has kept blowing up. He didn't sound good on the phone, but he wouldn't tell me what was wrong. I don't want to call back his mom and other sisters to ask what's going on, but I'll try to post an update when, hopefully, we come to a final solution because I am stressed and over this. And it isn't long before we get that update, because less than a day later she comes back to give us the fallout. This will probably be my last update, since my husband and I decided that we need to completely remove from sister-in-law's drama and trauma so we can focus on having a healthy pregnancy and family life. I have an appointment with a perinatologist, a high-risk prenatal doctor, tomorrow morning that was scheduled weeks ago to check on the baby. Thank you to those who were concerned about me and the baby, so I don't even know where to start. So I apologize if this update seems all over the place. I also have to point out for the person who went through my comment history, I switched the numbers, genders, and event details so I wasn't as easily identified in real life. I have a professional license, so if someone recognized me and thought I was being unethical due to the nature of the post, I could be brought in for review, which I would like to avoid, so I'm sorry I can't be 100% truthful with all the details. I tried my best to keep the most important information as factual as possible. Enough dilly-dallying. Why did the husband leave work early about his phone blowing up? So my husband ran home because Tina blew up his phone, texting and calling. Now, my husband always texts or calls me on his lunch break to check on me, even before the pregnancy, so I knew something was wrong when he didn't. Since he left Tina on red, she started calling and sending a slew of unwarranted and degrading texts about me and our children. So basically Tina being Tina. He didn't run it by me, but he sent her a long paragraph, which he showed me when he got home, basically telling her off and told her that he would rather never speak to her again than listen to her talk bad about our family. He told her she would never be invited to any of our family functions and that she needed to check herself back into hospital if she thought their sibling relationship was ever closer than it actually was. He closed it by saying he would let the family know the reason she was uninvited and that he hoped she's either seeing a therapist or would find one immediately. I'm not surprised at his response because the things she said pushed him to that breaking point. I think the worst thing she said was that my 2 miscarriages years ago, which would have been our first child together, was caused because we don't actually belong together, and that my body couldn't even carry any of my children to term. 32 and 33 week deliveries. I expected her to bring something like this up, but I could tell it really hurt him, and that's why he didn't hold back from her. He then blocked her and told me he's changing our phone numbers. He called his parents and the oldest/bio sister, whom he is close with, and explained to them why she's never allowed to visit our home. He shared all of their text exchanges, and they were mortified. He asked them not to share our address and when we changed to new numbers. They assured us that none of them shared this information with her because she actually asked for his work schedule and mentioned driving up a day early to surprise him. Turns out the father-in-law had the most to say, and I get it. It's his baby girl, but he hadn't shared much info beforehand with anyone besides his wife. He said he always knew she had a little crush on him, but after her outburst at our housewarming years ago, they had a conversation about her behavior, and she told him that she had been keeping a diary about him since she was a teenager. She explained that it was to process her emotions and to challenge negative thoughts. All I heard was that she wrote about him for years. So there's several journals in their home, probably enforcing her beliefs. Apparently, she only stayed away from my husband because my father-in-law kept her in check and was able to get her hospitalized several times for being a threat to herself. I don't know if all her issues stem from her unrequited love for him. Typing that just made me nauseous. But I hope she gets the help she desperately needs. She asked that they speak with her about this last text, but that we don't want to know the outcome. They told us they would deal with her and apologize for thinking she had resolved her issues. My in-laws are saints, and I thanked them for believing us and keeping her away all these years. Luckily, she's currently living with them due to her issues, so I'm going to speak to her tomorrow morning. So the bio sister-in-law called when we got off the phone with the in-laws. She told me that she was really sorry because she's the one who hooked the new boyfriend and Tina up and suggested that she show him off at the baby shower, but admitted that they had only been dating for like 2 weeks. She said she sent the text Tina sent to my husband to her boyfriend because she's one of her best guy friends and she wanted to protect him. So I'm pretty sure they're probably not a thing anymore. I'm kind of nervous how Tina will deal with two rejections so close together. Two sisters aren't that close, and she was audibly disgusted to find out that her sister has been pining for their brother all these years. She has a theory though. She thinks it started with the older by her brother, Sean, because when Tina was little, she would follow Sean around all the time. He's older, so he went off to college abroad. Tina was about 10, and then he permanently moved to Europe. It seems like the crush transferred to my brother when Sean left. Sean hasn't been back to the States since he graduated high school, and no one really has contact with him. So she said she can't call and ask him about it. I have to admit, I'm kind of curious and would have been interested in hearing what Sean had to say. I'll be rest assured knowing our involvement in the whole thing is over. Now, the rest of the story is just talking about how she is afraid that Tina could possibly do something to scare or harm OP or the children, to which the husband is upgrading alarm systems and, adding some more security towards the house. Thankfully, they also live over 5 hours away, so they'd have to really go out of their way to really turn up to the door. And that's basically it for the story. I also want to point out that for those that think my husband was intimate with her at some point to cause her erratic behavior, if that were the case, she would have loved to throw that in my face over and over. Plus, a guilty man would have tried to silence her a long time ago to keep me from finding out. You don't have to trust him, but I do. Wow, I wonder what made Sean move to another country and completely cut off contact with the entire family. Feels like there is some untold history here. Yeah, this was a little pin drop turning into a cascading wild theory. Yeah, this is an absolute out there wild theory, but I wonder if Sean abused her and the dad made a deal with him to stay away from the family in exchange for never sharing that secret with the family. Dad handled lots of things with Tina quietly for many years, which makes me think that he has been cleaning up after his troubled kids for a lot longer than that. I mean, damn, people, let's kind of criminal assumption there. That's a very serious accusation. Yeah, I think it's more likely that Sean felt overlooked by his parents, adopting a whole heap of kids, and being the oldest, probably had to help care for them and couldn't wait to get as far away as possible so he could have some freedom. Oh, don't say that. That's too normal and boring. We want people to be possibly abused so we can feel sorry for them, but also feel more entertained. Yeah. Oh, the internet is a bit sick and twisted sometimes. Checking out some more disturbingly snoopy behavior. I snooped through my girlfriend's laptop and saw her mean girl comments about me. So my girlfriend's 23 female and I'm a 25 male, and we've been dating for a little under a year now. We met 3 years ago when she was in college, and I was spending the summer at her relatives in the same city as her. We met on a dating app, went on a date, and started hooking up. I thought she was a sweet girl and very cute, but nothing else ever happened because a week after she started classes again, she told me she was seriously talking to someone. I left for grad school, and so we didn't speak again. Had each other on Instagram though. Until about a year ago, when she ended up going to grad school at the same institution. I saw on Instagram that she was here, slid into her DMs, and then we started dating. I thought she showed pretty much every green flag I could ever imagine. She has lots of friends she's really close to her family, volunteers, has lots of hobbies, and is academically and professionally successful. She's so incredibly sweet and considerate. For example, my birthday was just a month after we started dating, and yet she still got me a perfect gift. She is pretty much beloved everywhere she goes. Colleagues love her, my friends love her, my family love her. I also want to emphasize how not mean-spirited she is. I've definitely dated girls before who were snarky towards people around them, but my girlfriend is nothing at all like that. The only times I've heard her talk badly about people, it's like she's in a stand-up comedy special. It's all humor, nothing mean, and she never gets into arguments with her friends or family and is pretty much on good terms with everyone she's ever met. Anyways, today she was working on her computer and left for the gym. For some reason, she left it on. I think she had some research thing running. Well, it was on the kitchen counter, so I had to move it. And I saw a Google Drive folder with a bunch of people that was actually titled
Smoke darts, eat farts, super duper secret edition.
I know I should absolutely not have looked, but my curiosity got the better of me. Basically, it was a folder shared with her friend group from college, which is about 10 girls and super close. There were a lot of subfolders. The first one I looked at had homework keys and back exams from their classes. Then I looked at a document that was titled Bitches Love Being Out of Pocket. It was massive, like 100 pages, and there were subheadings for different topics. It seemed like a collection of out-of-pocket things any of them had said. Each one was cited with the name of which one of them had said it. As I was scrolling through, I saw my name under a subheading Men. Cock-a-doodle-doo. Here's what it said, paraphrased. 1. He seems like the kind of man to purchase LinkedIn Premium. Oh no. 2. I feel like he jerks off to his own Instagram stories. 3. There's no way that at least once in his life he hasn't removed a woman's tampon with his teeth. They were all signed with my girlfriend's name. I'd felt bad about snooping until then, but after that, I really wanted to see if there was anything else about me. I looked through the rest of that file, and there were insults about basically everyone they'd ever met, including about every man my girlfriend had ever been with. Honestly, mine were way less mean than theirs, so I guess that's a positive? There was also a folder with presentations, it seemed, like my girlfriend had made and presented before each semester in college. They were all titled something like roster or da hose, and the date, and they had a slide for every man she was talking to, as well as a recap for whoever she done over break. Of course, I was there, with my full name and pics of me, and a picture of my freaking car too. The only description of me was 6 out of 10, bought me cigs and let me use a flavored condom. There were also a lot of pictures and videos of them doing illegal or disgusting things, and there were some very mean things about other men they knew, like ranking them on the frick echt loser scale. The only other thing I saw about me was in a folder titled Life-Changing Moments that had a list for each of them. There were a lot of insane things in my girlfriends that I'd never heard about. Think chlamydia from unprotected intimacy with a frat brother, or Vespa ride with a sexy Italian man, or smoked a pack and threw up. It's a life-changing moment, yeah, I guess so. There was also one about me, which basically said, slept with OP and realized I needed to get out of my hoe era if I didn't want to end up being a sad sack of schmidt too. Wow, what a lovely thing to have heard from your, well, now partner. Yeah, that is the one that really got me, as it seemed so much meaner than everything else, and I have no idea what she meant by it. It was getting close to the time she would be back though, so I just closed everything and locked her laptop. She got back, I didn't mention anything, and we just had dinner as normal. I am here now because I have absolutely no idea what to do. Everything I saw was honestly awful, and yet she is the last person I would ever expect something like this from. I am in disbelief, and I really don't know where to go from here. I am hoping there is some explanation that doesn't make her the worst person, and yet I really don't want to confront her either. We have a great thing going, and I don't see any way that confronting her isn't going to lead to drama. I don't want to talk to anyone I know about this, in case we stay together and she then has to face them, so I thought I would ask here and see if anyone had any reason to apply this completely absurd situation. And to foreshadow the updates, please start trolling her. Upgrade to LinkedIn Premium and make sure you tell her about it. And well, in the update, that's exactly what he does. The responses on that post were very mixed, but they gave me a lot to think about. I did some research and reflection and realized that her tone didn't really seem to be much meaner than the jokes she usually makes about people. The ones about me in particular I realized were actually hilarious. Like, I kept cracking out about the LinkedIn one, and they were honestly entirely accurate too. What I was honestly really bothered about was that I was included, and I pretty much wanted to know if she actually liked me or it was just settling. I knew about her hoe face before, so I wasn't upset about it either, and I felt like it wasn't my place to say anything about that. I decided that I needed to confront her because the situation was upsetting me a lot. I decided that I was going to A, ask her about the 6 out of 10 rating because it honestly hurt my pride a lot, and B, ask her about the sad sack of schmidt comment because that was one that seemed the meanest, and C, ask her in general if she actually wanted to be with me. It would also have been a deal breaker if she kept updating the document with stuff about me after we'd started dating, or if she had any really unacceptable stuff on people like revenge poon. Now, unlike what a lot of people said, I did not think she was going to Ted Bundy me while I slept. I've seen her in plenty of high-stress situations, and I have never thought she was going to commit homicide. And I'm also not that afraid of a 5'3" girl. I also didn't think it was right to not say anything, as I knew it was going to continue bothering me. That said, I did realize that I wanted to screw with her a bit. I've never met anyone who takes it better than her. Like, any time I've seen people making jokes about her, she takes it very well and enjoys it. So I didn't think it would upset her too much. The day after I made my post, we didn't see each other until dinner. I'd been a bit weird all day over text, but she didn't think much of it and just asked me if I was okay. I devised my plan at this point, so over dinner, I dropped that I was considering buying a LinkedIn Plus subscription for networking. She gave me a side eye like I have never seen before and asked me why on earth I would do that. I saw her later texting her group chat. I didn't see what, but I was pretty sure it was about that. So that night, we were trying out something new in the bedroom. bedroom, and as we were cuddling after, I asked her if she was open to something when she was on her period. She asked me what, and I asked her if I could take her tampon out with my teeth, as I'd seen a lot on TikTok about it. She looked like she was actually going to scream, but held it in and said sure. The next day she seemed suspicious, so I decided to really finish it off. She went to work and I had the day off, so I decided to really go to town on my Instagram story. Now, some of you thought that the Instagram story comment meant I posted pics of myself on there, but I actually just post a lot of aesthetic pictures that I do spend a lot of time taking. I think that comment in her doc was probably because on our first date I took some pictures for my Instagram story, and she said something like, "Oh yeah, I like those," and I said, they're not really good enough, and she laughed at me even at the time. So anyways, that day I roamed around the city to all my favorite aesthetic spots and posted probably 10 or so stories, which I imagine annoyed everyone a lot. She slid up on them, and by the 10th one she said, "Damn, you're really going to freaking town on these today." So I replied something like, "Lamau, yeah, it gets me in the mood, you know." To which she replied with a emoji. At this point, I think she'd caught on, and I honestly had been acting a bit off too because my pride was still a little bruised, and I was also regretting having snooped. So that night, she came to my place with my favorite dinner and subtly, for her, asked me if there was anything I wanted to talk about. At this point, I laid it out for her, and I prefaced it with apologizing for snooping, but that the title of the document had caught my eye. She looked absolutely mortified, but was also laughing and kept apologizing. I laid out my 3 concerns to her, and she told me that A, the 6 out of 10 was truthful at the time, but she did like me a lot, as evidenced by dating me. B, the sad sack of Schmidt comment was about all the people she knew who only hoed around and never had real relationships, and that sleeping with me made her realize that she would much prefer to be in a relationship with someone like me, but that she thought she'd squandered her chances by hooking up with me instead. And that C, yes, obviously she loved and liked and respected me a lot. She also invited me to look through the folder freely, and that she wasn't ashamed of anything in there, just embarrassed that I'd seen those comments about myself. I checked, and there was nothing in there about me since we'd started dating. The only stuff was from when we'd hooked up. She also pointed out a document that I hadn't looked at before. It was in a folder titled Rankings, and each girl had a document in there. She only let me look at hers, but it was basically a ranking of every person she'd ever been involved with in any way. It was a long document with comments. I was first, and where for everyone else there was a list of pros and cons, mine just said, "Love him, XXXX." Also, it seemed like they would all comment on each other's to argue about the ranking. Like, some of them had things like, "No way, he was smexy, move him up." But mine just had comments from all the girls pretty much affirming the choice and praising me. So I was pretty satisfied with what I saw, and it also seems like they only update it now with stories about gossip or pictures and no insults or anything else like that. My girlfriend was overall mortified and extremely apologetic, and I was also apologetic about looking through it, and I told her she could look through anything I owned if she wanted, but she turned me down. She wasn't upset about the snooping at all, and said that she had nothing to hide, and that she would have done the same thing if she'd seen a folder as artfully and intriguingly named as theirs. So yeah, we're all good. A thank you to everyone who commented and gave me some perspective. Perhaps I'll update next month if she lets me take her tampon out of my teeth. God damn it. No. Meanwhile, to our group chat.
Crap, he found the document. Update the ranking stat.
"Oh, see, honey, you're great, because I got love him." Yep. That wasn't just a panic edit. I don't mean to try and relight this fire, but hey, she could have quickly sneakily texted her friends to edit the Google Doc for her. What are your thoughts on this sort of comment though, where it sounds like everyone has peaked in high school here and never left that phase? That it just sounds exhausting to have read all this, like the effort they put into all this documentation. I mean, hey, I guess it's a fun way to still be connected in a way, but also kind of doing what a lot of guys are considered sleazebags for, like degrading your experiences with people to like a hit list that these girls literally have like a digital burn book of sorts. But as the OP does mention in this update, they don't really use it for that anymore. It's more just sharing stories of gossip to each other in a easy to find system rather than having to scroll all the way up a group chat, you know? Kind of feel like they're not this anymore, so it's okay to not think that they are like this, but hey, that might be me just being too forgiving, considering it's an alleged happy ending for this relationship and not so much just being revealed that, oh wow, yeah, you just settled. I mean, this comment makes a valid point. Imagine this story playing out when you weren't her top pick. The things being said about the people were cruel. He seems to write it off here because they weren't a about him. Like, boy, I hope they never have any sort of disagreement or strife in their relationship. I'm sure she'll keep it private and civil. And that's with a valid red flag, I have to say. If she's so comfortable being so open with her friends about this kind of stuff, what makes you think that any issues in your relationship is ever going to stay within you two or a couples counselor? I bet my money they know more about you than you know anything about them. But again, we're basing these assumptions on mountains of documented data from their younger college hoe phase lifestyle. They're in their early 20s. Any of us going through that phase of our lives or have been through that phase of our lives, we all know how sometimes drastically we can change in personality and lifestyle. Again, I might be too forgiving once again, but I just feel like this might be a case where I think we're being a bit too harsh on these people now. Anyway, let me know what you think though. Again, maybe having a habit of trying to see the best in people.